You guys, so Barcelona have just taken advantage of the wonderful gift that was given to them yesterday when Real Madrid dropped points against Espanyol to close the gap between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid at the top of the La Liga table, and we need to talk about it. Let me premise this by saying this was a scrappy game. This was not the best Barcelona performance that we have seen. And in fact, this is almost becoming reminiscent of every Barcelona performance that we see when they come up against bottom team in the league. The difference this time is that Barcelona were able to grind out the win. Now, I have to give credit to Alaves. Prior to the start of this game, this was a game that I expected Barcelona to very much win. Losing was not an option. But the way Alaves played that first half, it made it so impossible for Barcelona to play their usual brand of football. They weren't able to find the passes. They weren't able to, break the lines. Alaves were defending in what I would term as not a low block, but kind of a low block at the same time, in that they blocked all the passing channels for Barcelona in the midfield. It just wasn't working. Barcelona ended up having to go many times through the sides, through the back, because there was no way to go forward. And that was just a masterclass in multifaceted defending, in my opinion. Now, we did see Lamine Yamal and Pedri doing a lot of take-ons and carry-throughs of the ball. And while everybody's excited about that solo run by Lamine Yamal, and don't get me wrong, I am too. The reason why Lamine Yamal was able to do that, or was doing that, in my opinion, was because Alaves was defending so much that there wasn't areas where he could pass the ball into. He just meant that he had to drive with the ball. Now, I was nervous after that first half. It didn't look to me like Barcelona, were going to win this one. It looked to me like one of the many, many games that we've seen Barcelona drop points, and it would have been very quite unfortunate if Barcelona had done so. And I had identified that, maybe this is a kind of game that Frankie de Jong needed to come on. And I'm very glad that Hansi Flick and I were on the same wavelength, because Frankie de Jong came in and he had a wonderful performance for Barcelona. There's just something about the way Frankie de Jong attacks the ball, controls the pace, and settles the midfield that just makes it easier. And I'm starting to be feeling a little bit glad that Frankie de Jong is coming into the elite midfielder that he was always meant to be. Now, speaking of Frankie de Jong, this then takes me to the part of this review where we talk about the entire Barcelona in performance, and I want to start from the goalkeeper, Wojciech Szczesny. Now, in my mind, I have been thinking about why Hansi Flick has suddenly decided that Wojciech Szczesny is Barcelona's ultimate number one. And it occurred to me that could it be that Hansi Flick sees it that all those games that we lost in November and December were probably winnable games if Iñaki Peña had made a few more saves, because saves are something that Wojciech Szczesny has in spades. The problem is when he comes out to do those sweeper keeper moments, he's still having a little bit of difficulty understanding when he needs to come forward and when he needs to stay back. And we saw that again today. However, if Hansi Flick trusts him, I'm going to do so, because Hansi Flick has yet to let us down at the moment. Jules Koundé had a good game, not a great game by his standards. Then again, this was a grimy game, so it wasn't the kind of flashy game where he could do many of the things that he usually does. So it was a good game for him. Araujo did come off early for Barcelona. He was carrying a yellow card, so essentially we were told that it was just because of precautionary measures, especially with the way the game was going. So I'm glad it was not an injury scare and more of a precautionary measure. Pau Kubasi is Lamine Yamal, but in defense. Now, he is him. I keep talking about Pau Kubasi and talking about how wonderful this player is. The only difference is that he's a defender, and also that he does it in the era of the Lamine Yamal. So it's very difficult for people to really understand what he's doing. But Pau Kubasi today was a leader from the back. He was solid. He was mashing the offside trap, and he was clearing every half chance that Alaves got, and it was wonderful to see. Alejandro Balde did not particularly have the best game today, but thankfully it was of no consequence. Gavi didn't stay in the pitch long enough for him to make an impact. It just wasn't the game, and I'm glad that neither him nor the Alaves player who had that head collision had any, long-term injury. So I'm glad for that. Marcus Sado, this wasn't probably the best game for Marcus Sado. Because like I said, I was watching the game and I thought this is a game for Frankie de Jong. It's not to say that Marcus Sado's performance was bad. It just wasn't the right environment for him to thrive. So he had to leave, by halftime. Pedri is always class, always masterclass. When Barcelona were finding it difficult for them to, bring the ball upfield in the first half, Pedri often fell back deep to carry the ball himself and bring it upstream, and us at the same time still managing to direct the entire midfield, and that is why he's amazing. One thing you know about that goal by Robert Lewandowski was the influence of Pedri in that build-up play as well, because Pedri had the ball with him, plays across into Lamine Yamal, whom, depending on how you want to see it, whether he was trying to go for a goal or whether he was trying to make a pass, it ends up finding Robert Lewandowski in an unmarked and restricted area, and then he hits the ball in for the goal. All of this is always all possible because of Pedri in the first instance. So another solid game by the magician himself. And then that brings me to Lamine Yamal, who, with that solo run, everyone's talking about it. Everyone is buzzing. He was amazing. He's always an entertainer. He just reminds me of Neymar. We love to see it. Kudos to this young man. Robert Lewandowski got us the goal that was very much needed today. And that brings us closer, to Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid ahead of the Madrid Derby next week. So thank you, sir, for your service. And Rafinha was just spectacular, as he did end up leaving early. He got an unnecessary yellow card. So my captain, calm down, pipe low. But otherwise, this was a much needed win for Barcelona. Some days you win 5-0, some days you win 1-0. At the end of the day, it's the 3 points that count. Now that we're looking on to next week, Barcelona is going to be looking to see how the game between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid turn out next week, because of course we have that Madrid Derby, right? And it's going to shake up the La Liga table once again. So we're excited. We're back in it, at least for the time being. But let me know what you thought about this game. Let me know how you felt. But until next time, bye guys.